Hey guys, it's Aaron wearing the wrong shirt Turner here. I don't have a Mario shirt, so this is the next best thing. Yes, I saw the Super Mario Galaxy movie. I did not review the first movie when it came out because I didn't see it when it came out. For some reason, I just did not see the first movie, but I always was meaning to watch it just because, I am a Mario fan. If you've seen my game reviews, you know that. So the first Mario movie, I'm going to review both in this video. Originally, I was going to make a separate video reviewing the first movie, but I just didn't have time. So, of course, starting with the first movie, and I actually had to buy it on Blu-ray because it's not available on streaming. Apparently, this is the Power-Up Edition. I don't know what makes this the Power-Up Edition, but okay. So, this movie came out back in 2023, and I was following the marketing. I was following, the announcements before it came out. This movie is from Illumination Animation. Try saying that 3 times fast. Now, for those of you who aren't aware, I'm sure many people are, but Illumination is the same studio behind the Despicable Me movies and the Minion movies, as well as Dr. Seuss's The Lorax, which was apparently also bad. I didn't see that. Mostly known for the Despicable Me franchise with the Minions. When I first heard that Illumination was making this movie, I was like, of all the animation studios that Nintendo could team up with, they picked fucking Minions. Like, come on. So right off the bat, as soon as I heard that, I was like, yeah, it doesn't sound good. But there was something different about the way they were approaching the Super Mario Brothers movie compared to other Illumination movies. Because if you're familiar with Illumination, they've actually, I think, like the head of Illumination, or like the president, whatever his name is, he straight up admitted that Illumination makes movies in the cheapest way possible with their animation, and they're kind of lazy with their productions. But the interesting thing about the Super Mario Brothers movie was because Nintendo was teaming up with Illumination, you can tell that Nintendo did put effort into this movie. And they did care about making a movie for the fans, and they didn't want to just like shit out some generic Mario movie from Illumination. But then I think it was during like a Nintendo Direct, they announced the official cast members, and everybody laughed in their faces. Now, I will get into the voice acting in a little bit, so let's get into the movie. Again, like I said, I was slightly concerned given Illumination's track record, but I did hear that the movie was getting a lot of praise from Mario fans, so I was like, okay, probably won't be that bad. And yeah, it was pretty fun, honestly. I had a fun time watching this movie. Now, right off the bat, something that I think a lot of Illumination haters are going to love about this movie and appreciate is that this definitely looks, from a visual standpoint, this is the best looking Illumination movie probably ever. Like I said, Illumination is not known for making quality animated movies. They make a lot of like kind of schlock for kids. But you can tell that, again, I think it's probably because Nintendo was behind this movie as well. They really cared about making a fun movie, a good movie for the fans. And so, yeah, the animation has never looked better in terms of Illumination standards. It's a beautiful looking movie, and the detail as well. Like I noticed, like you can actually see the seams in Mario and Luigi's clothing. Looks amazing. But now let's get into the voice acting. So I have some positives about the voice acting, but I also have some negatives. I'll save the negatives for when I get into the negatives. But with positives, let's address the obvious, the elephant in the room. Chris Pratt is voicing Mario. this was out of all the when I saw the voice cast for the first time, I was like, okay, some of this casting is actually pretty good, but there was one particular cast member that stuck out as just being kind of ridiculous. And that is, of course, Chris Pratt as Mario. I really thought that out of all of the cast in the movie, I was most worried about Chris Pratt, and I was going into the movie thinking that he's probably going to be the one that I don't like, and I was wrong. Now, the thing is, Chris Pratt is not like the best voice actor in this movie, but he surprised me in the sense that he's nowhere near as bad as I thought he was going to be, because my main concern was that I was just going to hear Chris Pratt as Mario, and that it was going to be too distracting. But to his credit, he actually does put on an accent. He puts on because Mario and Luigi are from Brooklyn in this movie. And Chris Pratt, he doesn't like just phone it in. He actually does put on an accent. There's times where you can tell, yeah, it's Chris Pratt voicing Mario. But for the most part, again, I have to give him a lot of credit. He surprised me. He does try in this movie, But, this is coming from me, a fan, but as you can see, we got the real Mario back here. So let's ask the real Mario what he thinks of Chris Pratt's performance. What do you think, Mario? Would you say that Chris Pratt is the best voice actor they could have picked to play you?
Bullshit!
Well, there you have it, Can't argue with the man himself. Then you have the other voice actors in this movie, Charlie Day as Luigi, who did a good job. Yeah, good. Probably, I might want to say I like Charlie Day as Luigi more than Chris Pratt as Mario. Then you have Anya Taylor-Joy voicing Princess Peach, who, does a fine job. She's not really putting on a voice. To my knowledge, it's just her natural voice, which is fine. Again, fine for Peach. But then you have by far the standout voice actor in this movie, and I'm happy to say this because honestly, out of all of the cast members when they first announced, he was the one that I was like, that is perfect casting. Jack Black voices Bowser in this movie, and he's amazing. He's honestly, in terms of this first movie, if I went into this movie not knowing who was playing Bowser, I would have no idea it was fucking Jack Black, because he voice acts his ass off in this movie. He is almost unrecognizable as Bowser. Really funny too. Bowser, in terms of the comedy, is by far the highlight of the movie. There's just so many scenes where, again, you can tell that Jack Black just had the time of his life. He's really given it his all with this performance. The whole Peaches song that he sings is friggin' amazing. Just, again, so many great comedy moments with Bowser. He's a goofball in this movie. Bowser is a complete goofball. Like, he has like a strong, commanding voice, but at the same time, he's a goofball. He's in love with Princess Peach, and yeah, it's funny. Now, something that a lot of Mario fans are going to get a kick out of watching this movie is just the amount of references there are to the games. And yeah, as a Mario fan watching this movie, it was fun to see all the references, and what I really like is that they actually use the references in a pretty clever way. You have Mario playing on an NES. You have they use the Super Mario Brothers Super Show theme song as the music for the commercial that Mario and Luigi make for their plumbing business. We're the Mario Brothers, and plumbing's our game. We're not like the others who get all the fame. It's fucking great. I never would have expected them to actually reference something that's a bit obscure, like from the 90s that show was. So, pretty funny. And again, that whole Super Mario Brothers plumbing commercial is so great. I also love that they use like the cape feather from Super Mario World. You know, the Super Mario Brothers are here to save the day, and they use the cape feathers. That's just such a clever way of including that power-up from the game. Luigi's ringtone is the GameCube startup sound, which was so clever. Also, music cues. Like, you actually hear during certain scenes music from the games, like when Mario and Luigi are like underground investigating the pipes, you get like the underground theme from the game. And there's just a lot of music cues like that. When Mario winds up in the Mushroom Kingdom and you see Peach's castle in the distance, you get like an orchestral version of like Peach's Castle's theme from Mario 64. So I will say, if you are a Mario fan, you are probably going to get a huge kick out of this movie. They also, of course, use like sound effects from the game, like coin sound effects, block punching sound effects, pipe sound effects. Really great. Now, transitioning into my negatives with this movie, the comedy is hit or miss. Like I said, Bowser is hilarious, but a lot of the other jokes from like other characters, just hit or miss, like I said. There's a nice visual gag I want to point out towards the end when Peach and Bowser getting married. The King Bomb from Mario 64 walks in, and then he sits down and he hits one of the Koopas, and the Koopa's shell bounces back and forth on the seat, which I thought was funny. You know, no dialogue. That's an example of like great visual comedy. Now, the big thing about this movie is that if you're not a Mario fan, you're probably not going to like this movie, just because it really sells itself on the fact that it's a Mario movie. It's a movie made for Mario fans, so the story tends to be pretty basic. So that's something that people who are going to be very critical of this movie are going to point out, is that like it's really a basic kids movie level story. Bowser wants to destroy the Mushroom Kingdom. He wants to marry Peach, and if she doesn't, he's going to destroy the Mushroom Kingdom. And it's, you know, Mario and friends have to stop him, and that's really it. They do throw in a part about Mario and Luigi and their family members. Mario and Luigi's dad is in this movie, voiced by Charles Martinet, which I actually thought was clever because he's the voice of Mario in the games, was the voice of Mario in the games up until this movie. And he also has a cameo as Jumpman, I guess. Like, he's playing, that's another clever reference, is that they actually have Charles Martinet voice a citizen of Brooklyn who's playing the arcade Donkey Kong. And he uses his classic Mario voice. Really, really good reference, a good moment. But like I said, Charles Martinet also voices Mario's and Luigi's father in this movie, and they have a little bit of an arc where like the family aren't really proud of Mario and Luigi and their plumbing business. But by the end, they save Brooklyn from Bowser's forces, and all of a sudden, the father is proud of them. It's just a very basic arc for a kids movie. So the story is not one of the movie's strengths. It's one of the weakest parts about the movie. But again, like I said, the movie sells itself on the fact that it's a Mario movie. So if you're a Mario fan, the story is not really going to be a big deal for you. You know, you're probably just there to see Mario and get a kick out of all the fun references. Now, I also want to point out a character in this movie, and this is what I was referring to when I said that one of the voice actors I was not a fan of, and that is Donkey Kong, voiced by Seth Rogen. Now, it's weird because when they did the cast announcement and I saw Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong, I was like, you know what, that's actually, it's kind of funny, but like, seemed like it was a good choice. And yeah, I have to say that this, I did not like Donkey Kong in this movie. There's a clever reference when Donkey Kong first comes out in the arena and he's about to fight Mario, they actually play like the DK rap from Donkey Kong 64. So clever, another clever reference. But here's the problem with Donkey Kong in this movie, and it's exactly what I thought was going to be the problem with Chris Pratt as Mario. Seth Rogen has a pretty distinct voice, and of course his laugh, which he does laugh a lot in this movie, the iconic Seth Rogen laugh. But the problem is, it's Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong. I just don't see it, you know? Whenever Donkey Kong's talking in this movie, I just think it's just Seth Rogen. Like, really? It's just way too distracting for me, so Donkey Kong was not a highlight of this movie for me. They also have Cranky Kong in this movie, who is Donkey Kong's father, and they do try to do something similar to have Mario and Donkey Kong bond, is that they both have issues with their fathers, not being proud of them. And yeah, so they go through like a similar arc, and that's kind of how they're able to bond, because at first they don't like each other, and then they're like, oh yeah, your father is not proud of you, you know? Hey, you know, I'm in the same boat. So yeah, I just thought that Donkey Kong, I don't like him in this movie. It's too distracting. It also doesn't help that every time I hear Seth Rogen's voice, it just gives me flashbacks to when I was 14 and watched Sausage Party, which I will never forgive Seth Rogen for. I mean, that movie was straight up awful. 80% on Rotten Tomatoes or something. That's another, you know, thing. Not going to go into it, but let's just say I don't like that movie. So, you know, Seth Rogen, you know, gives me flashbacks, you know, not good memories. Some other smaller problems I have, one of them's very minor, I'll get that out of the way. There is I said that a lot of the references are very clever, and they are, but there's one reference that I thought was straight up awful and was just not clever at all. Of course, there is a section of this movie that is dedicated to Mario Kart. They race on Rainbow Road and with carts and bikes. You know, it's a fun scene, and then you have like this blue-shelled Koopa who they think they, you know, got rid of, and then all of a sudden it's like he's like, you're not gonna get rid of me that easy, and he's like, blue shell, he screams blue shell, and then he turns into his shell and he flies with his wings and then smashes Donkey Kong's cart. It's like, we really have to point out to the audience that this is a reference to Blue Shell and Mario Kart. It's like, it just seemed like so fucking obvious, and like, we know. We're not stupid. Like, I just don't know why they felt the need to like actually spell that out for us, when every other reference in the movie is like done in a clever way. So that was just kind of weird. Also, there's a really terrible scene towards the beginning of the movie where Mario and Luigi like get their first plumbing job, and the family has a dog that ends up like chasing Luigi, or Luigi doesn't like Luigi, and then the three of them get into like a scrap with the dog in the bathroom, and it goes on for way too long, and it's not funny. It just kind of reminded me of like Minions, honestly, like the slapstick style of comedy that Minions uses that I find really annoying. So, one of the worst scenes in the movie. Another negative with this movie is that I heard back when the movie first came out, I can't remember whose review it was, but I was watching a review, and they mentioned that there's a lot of licensed songs that are used in this movie, and it just becomes a little distracting. So I knew, I was kind of expecting that going into it, and you know, towards the beginning of the movie, they do use quite a few, and it was like, okay, at first it wasn't that bad, but honestly, it did, over time, it did actually start to get a little annoying. When they're doing the Mario Kart thing and everybody's making their karts, they play like AC/DC's Thunderstruck, and that was the moment, that was like the 10th fucking licensed song that they used at that point. And at that point, it was like, yeah, this is starting to get a little ridiculous, guys. They also play Mr. Blue Sky at the end of the movie, which it was not only is that another fucking licensed song that they use, and I was like, okay, wow, another one. The movie, literally, the movie was like 2 minutes from being over, and there's another licensed song. If I had a nickel for every time Mr. Blue Sky played in a Chris Pratt movie, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. So that's all I have to say about the Super Mario Brothers movie, the first movie. Overall, again, if you are a Mario fan, you're gonna like this movie a lot more than if you weren't a Mario fan. If you're not a Mario fan, then I'd say, I wouldn't recommend this movie. But again, I'm a Mario fan. Like I said, I got a lot of kicks out of this movie with the references, and like I said, Jack Black as Bowser's fucking hilarious. The Peaches song, iconic. And it's nice to see Jack Black in a video game movie that's not total cringe. Unlike another video game movie that also happens to star Jack Black, ironically, Jack Black also sings a little song in that movie. But we're not going to go into that movie that shall remain nameless. But, Jack Black in a good video game movie with a good-ass song he sings. If this wasn't a Mario movie, I would probably give this a lot lower of a score, but because, again, I'm a fan and it was fun to watch, I'm going to give the Super Mario Brothers movie a 7 out of 10. Okay, so now we can get to the movie you clicked on the video for, the new Super Mario Galaxy movie. Now, when they first announced this movie, a lot of people were kind of puzzled because it seemed like the next movie was going to be Super Mario World because they teased Yoshi in the post-credit scene of the first movie. So it kind of just, seemed like they were going to go to like Dinosaur Land with Yoshi. But no, it turns out it's Super Mario Galaxy. So that was a bit surprising. But at the same time, I have it right here. If you guys saw the review, the most recent episode of Arron Turner's Game Reviews, which this guy's in, I love Super Mario Galaxy.
He gave it a 9.5!
Okay, yeah, sure, he's right. I gave it a 9.5. But I still love the movie. He's still bitter about that. But this game is amazing. If you haven't played it, do yourself a favor. If you're a Mario fan, play this. It's often regarded as the best Mario game. Just beautiful story. Gameplay is great. It's just a beautiful looking game. Music is fantastic. So there's a lot of expectations from Mario fans for this movie. They're adapting what many consider to be the best Mario thing ever. So first, I'm going to start off with my positives, of course. Number one, of course, like the last movie, the visuals are fantastic. Really pretty looking movie. Animation's great. So that hasn't changed. Also, I will be talking about spoilers in this video. I'm going to I might go into minor spoilers at the start, so there's your warning, but I'll try to keep it light at first, but then I will be talking about major spoilers later on. Now, the voice acting is good. One particular voice actor that does not actually return for this movie is Seth Rogen. Seth Rogen does not return for this movie, and I'm not too upset about that. Donkey Kong has like a 2-second cameo near the beginning, but that's it. He doesn't say anything. Now, in terms of the comedy, it's still hit or miss in this movie, and honestly, the comedy overall is not as good as it was in the first movie, but I will say Jack Black as Bowser is, of course, hilarious. I still find most of his scenes to be really funny. And also Bowser Jr. is in this movie, and again, a lot of Bowser Jr.'s interactions with his father are really funny. Just the scenes of them bantering and talking, and yeah, there's just a lot of scenes towards the end that between them that are really funny. So again, Bowser's still great. Now, one quick moment that I want to mention that I really liked was that it's Peach's birthday in this movie, and Mario actually gifts Peach her parasol that she has in the games, which I thought was very clever. I thought that was a nice moment. Now, one of the best things that this movie does is that, like I said, a lot of people did not like the fact that they use so much licensed songs in the first movie, instead of just using more music from the games. Like, they use music from the games, but it's very far and few between. They mostly just use friggin' licensed songs. Thankfully, the Super Mario Galaxy movie cuts back a lot with the licensed songs. In fact, I'm pretty sure there's only one licensed song in the beginning with Yoshi in this movie, which Yoshi I'll get to. But yeah, one licensed song, and they actually use a lot more video game music from Super Mario Galaxy, from Super Mario World, and other Mario games, and sound effects too. Great, thank you. They actually listened to some of the criticism. So now we can get into what might be the most divisive part of the movie, and again, I'm going to go into major spoilers now. There's a lot of references to the video games in this movie, like there is in the first game. And a lot of it is really cool. Like I said, if you're a Mario fan, you're going to get a kick out of this movie, just like the first movie. It's really cool. However, something I will say is that the references are nowhere near as clever as they are in the first movie. This movie, there's a lot of shit in this movie. And there's a lot of characters, and it does get a little bloated at times. It's like they're trying to do so many things in this movie, and they're trying to put so many characters in this movie that it's like, it just kind of gets a little ridiculous at points. And as a result, the references are also not as clever, because there'll be like characters that you see, and again, spoilers, I want to point that out. Rob is in this movie, Mr. Game & Watch in this movie, like non-Mario characters are in this movie, Nintendo characters. And of course, now this is not a spoiler at this point, because if you've been on social media before the movie came out, friggin' they posted that Fox McCloud is in this movie on social media. First of all, why the fuck would you do that? Like, I mean, that would have been such a cool surprise for the movie. So that's a little disappointing that they would reveal that on social media. Like, what the fuck? What are you doing? You know? But Fox McCloud from Star Fox is in this movie, and it's really cool to see him, honestly. And also, I love how the way they do his, like, intro, they actually use, like, 2D animation when he's, like, flying around with the other Star Fox characters and doing barrel rolls and, you know, through space. It's really fun. So it's cool to see Fox McCloud in this movie, but again, it's like that's one of the weaker parts of the movie, is that these references are not as clever. They're just kind of like throwing characters in the movie and references for the sake of, oh, it's because it's from a video game. They don't do it in a clever way. Like I said, in the first movie, the way they do the references are like subtle, and like I said, like the Super Mario Brothers plumbing commercial is clever, and like, you know, it's just stuff that isn't really that the movie doesn't really make a big deal out of it, but it's just kind of there for the fans. But the Super Mario Galaxy movie, it just kind of like, it really seems to shove in your face, look, here's a reference, and it's just kind of like, okay, like, it's a little unnecessary. They have like Rob at the register or something, like they're Peach and Toad are trying to get instructions on where to go, and they're talking to Rob. And I will say that is one of the worst scenes in the movie. I guess I'm in my full-blown negatives at this point. This was the transitioning point. But Rob has one of the worst scenes in this movie, because they do like the cliche like comedy where he talks really slow because he's a robot. So it's like, yeah, certainly, I can tell you where it is. And then he slowly turns around, and it's like, and it's like, didn't Zootopia do this exact same joke? It's a complete ripoff of Zootopia. So, yeah, that was just horrible for me. I want to make it clear, it is cool to see these characters. You know, you see like villains like Wart from Super Mario Bros. 2, the USA version, and Mauser and Birdo, and like just characters from the USA version of Super Mario Bros. 2 in the casino when they go to this casino place. Peach is talking, you know, where's Rosalina? They're trying to find Rosalina in this movie. I probably should have given the plot first. Sorry. But the problem with this movie is that there's just so much shit in this movie that it's kind of hard to just describe the plot because a lot of stuff happens in this movie. But Peach is trying to find Rosalina and she's asking around and she runs into villains from Super Mario Bros. 2. That's pretty cool. It just kind of throwing a bunch of characters in there. It's not clever at all. Now, a prime example for me for why I say the references aren't as clever is that they do use the cape feather again that I mentioned from Super Mario World, just like the first movie. But, and again, this is a minor thing. I don't think a lot of people are really going to care about this. It's probably just my crazy ass, my nerd ass. But they use the cape feather again in this movie, like the first movie, but it's used as an actual power-up in this movie that Mario uses to like fly around with. It's at the very end of the movie. It's actually the last scene in the movie where they're trying to rebuild Peach's castle because it got destroyed. So they're rebuilding Peach's castle and Mario uses the cape feather to fly up to the top to put the flagpole in. And it's like, okay, that's a little weird considering that like Mario is from Brooklyn and they use the cape feather in a commercial, like the cape feather in the real world. So it's not like an actual real power-up in that the first, according to the first movie's logic, it's not an actual power-up. It's just something that they used, you know, for fun in the commercial to make them appear like, you know, superheroes coming to save the day. But then in this movie, it's used as an actual power-up in the Mushroom Kingdom, you know? And it's just, I just thought that was a little weird. So now I'm going to get into the really, really big problems with this movie. Like I said, not all the comedy works. Bowser is good, but most of the other jokes are pretty bad. And there's one particular scene involving like a dinosaur, a T-Rex that they run into on this planet. When Fox is like flying them, they crash land on this planet. And then Bowser Jr. zaps Mario and Luigi with like a baby ray that turns them into babies. And then Toad is trying to save them from a T-Rex that they find. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but to my knowledge, this T-Rex isn't a reference to like a character from the games. This is just some random T-Rex that they find. And like Mario and Luigi are like climbing all over it as babies, and then they go inside it, and it's like, and then Yoshi's also trying to rescue them and like fights off the dinosaur, and then they hit the dinosaur with the baby ray, and the dinosaur's a baby. It's just the movie similar, the scene similar to that scene with the dog that I mentioned in the beginning of the first movie goes on for way too long. It's not funny. It's time filler, and that also leads to another bit of the comedy that did not work for me at all. That's the inclusion of Yoshi in this movie. Like I said, Yoshi was teased in the post-credit scene, so it's like they have to put him in this movie. But Yoshi does not serve any purpose in this movie. He's just kind of there because, you know, we teased him, so he's got to be in the movie. There's no reason for him to actually befriend Mario and Luigi and you know, help them in their adventure. You know, Mario and Luigi get called for like a plumbing job. There's like some creature in the pipes, but then it turns out to be Yoshi, and he's friendly, and it's like, okay, but it's like Yoshi has no reason to really care about what Mario and Luigi are doing. He just kind of follows them for the rest of the movie. And another thing is, Yoshi is used as the comedic relief character, and I'm sorry, I did not care for Yoshi at all in this movie. He's really not funny. He does eat people and shit them out as eggs like in the games, but I don't know, it's just, he just kind of, he gave me, honestly, he gave off Minion vibes to me. Not that I'm, you know, Yoshi in this movie is nowhere near as annoying as the fucking minions are, but he did give me slight minion vibes with how bad the comedy with him is. Also, a weird thing that, again, is just, it's a very, very minor thing, but something that I noticed. This actually happened in the first movie. There's a problem where the toads don't know a character's name at first, and then all of a sudden they call them by their name, even though they're never told their name. I noticed this in the first movie when Peach is introducing Mario to the toads. They're like, who's this guy? And Peach says, oh, he's not important. And then they move on. Peach never tells the toads Mario's name. And then later in the movie, one of the toads says Mario. Like, okay, they just forgot that, I guess? And the literally exact same happened. Now, again, if maybe I missed something, maybe I missed something quick that happened, maybe they did say Yoshi's name, please correct me in the comments if you've seen the movie, but they never say Yoshi's name, and then one of the toads later on in the movie calls him Yoshi. It's like, okay, what you're just completely forgetting certain things. And that's actually a running theme with this movie, is that they do things and then they forget about things. So like I said, Bowser Jr. is introduced in this movie, and again, while I do think that the comedy between them is funny, their relationship is so bizarre in this movie and doesn't really make sense. Bowser Jr. is one of the first characters shown in the movie. The movie opens with the Comet Observatory being attacked by Bowser Jr. in his Mega Leg, which I actually thought was, again, that's a clever reference. That's one of the few clever references. And then he captures Rosalina. That's another thing that I'm going to get into, but he captures Rosalina, and then he wants to rescue Bowser from Mario and Luigi because Mario and Luigi have him. I should have mentioned this, but in the end of the last movie, they use a mini mushroom to shrink Bowser, and so they have Bowser trapped in a cage. But then Bowser eventually breaks free, and Bowser Jr. is trying to rescue his father. And the weird thing is that Bowser, as soon as he learns that Bowser Jr., his son, is trying to rescue him, he's like, wow, my son, I haven't seen him in so long. I was a terrible father. He says he was a terrible father. But it's like, yet Bowser Jr. is trying to rescue him. So it's almost like they're trying to set it up based on what Bowser is saying. They're trying to set it up like he has a bad relationship with his son. But yet his son is trying to rescue him. And his son is like all excited and happy when he finally does get to Bowser. He's like, look at everything I've done, like I've look at the planet I've made, Planet Bowser, and he's got like an amusement park, and he's captured Rosalina, and he's showing his father this, and is like, oh, like, yeah, I did this for you. And it's like, and then Bowser, again, this movie is so weird because at first it says Bowser was a terrible father, and then after seeing what Bowser Jr. has done, Bowser's like, oh, maybe I'm not a terrible father, look at what my son has done for me. Okay, and then he just accepts that, yeah, he's a good father, I guess. He also sort of befriends Mario and Luigi in this movie, like at the beginning when he's still small. He's like, okay, yeah, I'll help Mario and Luigi. They're not so bad. But that lasts like 2 fucking minutes. And then as soon as he is captured by Bowser Jr., Bowser's like, oh, Mario and Luigi, they're not that bad. And then Bowser Jr. is about to kill them with. And then Bowser's like, oh, well, no, Junior, they're not as bad as you think. And then Bowser Jr. is able to convince them, no, they are pretty bad, and I'm gonna kill them. And then Bowser's just like, yeah, okay. And then he goes back to being fucking evil. It's like, what are they doing with Bowser's motivations in this movie and his relationship with Junior? It's all over the place. It doesn't make sense. He's thinking this about his son, and then he's thinking that about his son, and then his son is like liking him, and then Bowser goes from, oh, he's a good guy, and then he's evil again. Very weird, inconsistent writing. It's like they forgot what they set up, and then they just do something else with those two characters. Okay, now I'm going to talk about probably the biggest problem of this entire movie. So, this movie is called the Super Mario Galaxy movie. Rosalina is introduced in this movie. Of course, it's the Super Mario Galaxy movie, duh. But here's the thing. One of the things that I was wanting from this movie, going into it, after watching the first movie, I was like, wow, the first movie had a pretty basic story of like, okay, yeah, it's just Mario and friends fighting Bowser. So I was thinking, okay, this is adapting friggin' Super Mario Galaxy, beautiful story. I'm hoping for a bigger story and not just generic, good guys fight bad guys movie. But you know what? It turns into another basic good guys fight bad guys movie. Like there's nothing new that they do with the story in this movie. It's just Bowser Jr. wants to conquer the universe. He's able to convince his dad to agree with his plan. They want to capture Rosalina because Rosalina is apparently the most powerful princess in the galaxy. And so they are successful in capturing Rosalina, and they use her power to they harness her power to take over the universe or whatever. But here's the thing, folks. That's all they do with Rosalina in this movie. She is seen in the very beginning telling a story to the Lumas. The Comet Observatory gets attacked by Bowser Jr. She's captured, and they have the fucking audacity to have Rosalina stay captured for the whole fucking movie. Rosalina doesn't do a fucking thing in this movie. She barely has any screen time. She remains captured, and Mario and Peach and all the friends, Yoshi, fucking, all the fucking shit they put in this movie. All the characters, they're trying to rescue Rosalina from Bowser Jr. It's like, this is Super Mario Galaxy? This is the Super Mario Galaxy movie? This is the game you're adapting? And this is what you choose to do with Rosalina? A fan favorite Mario character and a major character in the game. And you have her captured for the whole movie. You have her be like the damsel in distress, even though, we've seen from the game that she's like a super powerful force to be reckoned with. What the fuck? Who made that decision? And that's the thing in general. If you are a fan of the game Super Mario Galaxy, you are going to be disappointed with the adaptation element of this movie, because it doesn't do you any favors. You don't really get Mario Galaxy in this movie. The only things this movie has in common with the game is that they're traveling through space to different planets. That's it. It doesn't follow the story of the game. Again, it throws so many characters, and it's like they forget about Rosalina. I kept on waiting for them to go back to what Rosalina was doing with Bowser Jr., but they never do. She has fucking 5 lines in this movie. Rosalina is voiced by Brie Larson, and who also plays Captain Marvel in the MCU, funnily enough. Okay, let's get the actress who plays the space character in the MCU to play the space character in Mario. Bravo. But the point is, apparently Brie Larson is a huge Nintendo fan, and a huge Mario fan too. So imagine, put yourself in her shoes. You get cast as Rosalina, You're a huge fan, and yet you have like five. Yeah, again, I'll be generous and say that she has like 10 lines in this movie, and she has like 5 minutes of screen time. Again, I'm being generous. They use Rosalina's storybook, like I said at the beginning. She's telling a story to all her Lumas, but the story she tells is not her backstory that we get in the video game. That beautiful backstory, might I add. The video game has, I've talked about this in my review, where it's a storybook that tells Rosalina's backstory about her mother and how she found the Lumas, and her being a mother to the Lumas. You know? That is not in the movie. That's not the story she tells. It's just a storybook about Mario and Peach and them, stopping Bowser. Basically, the events of the first movie told in storybook form. And it's like, they do nothing with Rosalina's backstory in this movie. Rosalina has no character in this movie. They don't even really give an explanation as to like who Rosalina is, like or why she is the mother of the Lumas, what the fuck the Comet Observatory is. They do nothing with Rosalina and her backstory. They don't explain anything. Like, you can't just put something in the movie and expect the fans of the game to be like, oh, I recognize that, and them to be automatically okay with that. You need to address this shit. Like, I was pretty excited when the movie first started because it opens with a shot of the Comet Observatory, and it uses the amazing music from the games to open the movie. Like I said, that's one of the biggest strengths, is that they do use music from the games. So the opening was really cool. I was like, oh, look, the Comet Observatory. Holy fuck. And then Rosalina's in the library with all the Lumas, and I'm like, wow, okay, yeah, this is great. Then they do nothing after that. No backstory given to Rosalina. No explanation as to what the fuck the Comet Observatory is. It's a spaceship that's super powerful, able to like destroy multiple airships from Bowser. That is something there's a shot in this movie where they do something just like in the game, where the Comet Observatory, or actually, it's not the Comet Observatory. I'm pretty sure it's just Fox's ship that plows through all the airships, similar to the game. So it's like they got that right, but that's just like a small moment from the game. The Comet Observatory is given no explanation. No explanation given to Rosalina's backstory. I'm sorry to repeat myself, but I really want to stress how wasted Rosalina is in this game, how wasted Brie Larson's voice acting is. I think Brie Larson is a good choice. Actually, like at first I was a bit skeptical because I was like, Brie Larson, really? I was like, okay. But after watching the movie, I mean, she does fit Rosalina's voice. She actually does sound like Rosalina does in the games. So, give them credit with the casting, but absolutely wasted. This character is wasted. This actress is wasted. Now, there is one thing they do with Rosalina in this movie that I honestly really liked, but it doesn't add to her character. It adds to Peach's character. So again, I've said this before, but this is probably the biggest spoiler for this movie. For those of you who don't know, when they were making Super Mario Galaxy, the game, there was originally plans to make Peach and Rosalina related to each other. Either Rosalina was going to be revealed as Peach's mother or her sister. But ultimately, they decided not to do it. I think it was Shigeru Miyamoto himself, actually, who decided to not do it. However, they changed their minds in this movie because Rosalina is revealed to be Peach's older sister. Now, when you just take this by itself, I think this is really fucking cool. and I like that they did that. And I did kind of see it coming, because during Peach's birthday party, she's talking to Mario and she kind of says, well, I don't really know when my real birthday is. This is just the day that the Toads found me. I really don't know where I come from. So it's pretty obvious, because it's like you just showed another princess who looks exactly like Peach. So it's like, we know that they're related in some way. I was either thinking, okay, Rosalina is obviously either Peach's mother or Peach's older sister. It's pretty obvious. But like I said, still cool that they finally revealed something that was in the planning stages since the game was being developed. So that's cool. But that doesn't fix my problems with Rosalina in this movie. She still has no backstory. We don't know where Rosalina came from. We don't know Rosalina's mother, who's dead in the games. They didn't put that in the movie. She's sleeping under the tree. No mention of that. It's just so disappointing for fans of the game. And I want to be clear, I get that this is a kid's movie and that this is a sequel. The first movie was relatively silly with its comedy and everything like that, and Bowser being a goofball. So I understand that this movie being a sequel to the first movie has to follow the same tone. So it's a kid's movie, My audience was full of kids, My audience, this theater was actually packed. But the problem is that the game has a very serious tone to it. It's not silly at all. So when you have this movie, which is supposed to be an adaptation of the game, does not follow the same tone at all. It's not dark at all. Bowser's a fucking goofball. He's not a goofball in the game, Super Mario Galaxy. Bowser is like a fucking... It's very dramatic. Like I said, this movie has a lot of characters and cool moments. Like I said, seeing Fox McCloud included in this movie is really cool. Seeing Rob in this movie is cool. There's Pikmin even makes an appearance in this movie from the Pikmin games. That's cool. Mr. Game & Watch. Daisy, Princess Daisy also makes an appearance in the post-credit scene. You get to see Dry Bowser in this movie. Bowser falls into the lava and he becomes Dry Bowser. There's a lot of fun to be had with this movie, but overall, if you're looking for a good story, you're not going to get it here. Because this story is very jumbled. It doesn't make sense at times. It wastes Rosalina, does not adapt the game at all. Look, I'll say this because I did want to address the fact that critics are not being kind to this movie. This movie is currently sitting at a 43% on Rotten Tomatoes. Last I checked. Movie just came out, so it could change. This movie has a lower rating than that other video game movie that also happens to star Jack Black. I'm pretty sure, we're just gonna call it a chicken jockey movie, because that's basically what the fuck it is. It's memes the movie, cringy memes the movie. A chicken jockey movie, I'm pretty sure that has like a 47% on Rotten Tomatoes. Okay, look, to be fair, I have not seen a chicken jockey movie, but I'm guaranteeing that the Super Mario Galaxy movie is better. I refuse to believe that this movie is apparently worse, according to critics. There's just no way. There's no way. I've seen clips of the Chicken Jockey movie. I've seen multiple clips. I've seen reviews. That movie looks fucking awful. It looks cringe as hell. There's no way. So I will say this. I don't think the Super Mario Galaxy movie is as bad as some people are making it out to be. I think some people are being a little too harsh for this movie. Like I said, animation is good. Cool cameos of characters that you can get a kick out of. Cool references. Again, not as clever, but still cool. If you don't really care about the adaptation process and you just are a Mario fan watching this movie, and you understand that like these movies, they're not trying to win any awards, they're not trying to be like the peak of cinema. If you go into that movie with this mindset and you just want to have a fun time with fucking goofy ass Mario, you're probably going to enjoy this movie on a similar level to the first movie. But I don't know, just to me, I wanted more from this movie after the basic ass plot of the first movie. In the end, I think I would give the Super Mario Galaxy movie a 6 out of 10, or maybe even a 5.5 out of 10. Well, we'll go 5.7 out of 10. I'm giving the Super Mario Galaxy a 5.7 out of 10. This movie, as a kid's movie, is not good. Look, I'll say this. I'll separate Mario movie from Mario Galaxy movie. As a Mario movie, it's still fun. A bit annoying with the comedy of Yoshi sometimes, but still fun as a Mario movie. But as a Mario Galaxy adaptation, this movie is fucking piss poor and completely misses the mark. There's my thoughts on the Mario movies. Like I said, these movies are fun. Especially the first movie is fun. You know, as far as video game movies go, you know, video game movies have historically been disasters. I would not even say the Super Mario Galaxy movie is like one of the worst adaptations I've ever seen. I know I just said it's a piss poor adaptation of Mario Galaxy, but like again, the movie's still, it's fun. You're not gonna have a miserable time watching this movie. I honestly think this movie probably would have been received a lot better from fans if they didn't call this Mario Galaxy. If they just did what most fans were expecting and just called it Mario World and had it more focused on Yoshi and just Bowser and less about like space and Rosalina, this movie probably would have been received a lot better if they just focused on, you know, Mario World, Dinosaur Land. Like, put more of Dinosaur Land in this movie. I don't know if they're going to make a third movie. Probably, based on, like, the audience members seem to fucking love this movie. The crowd I saw it with, again, the theater was packed. People love this movie. This movie got a round of applause when it was over. So, you know, and the movie, last I checked, has like a 92% audience score. Yeah, they're probably going to make a third movie. This movie's going to make a shit ton of money. But I think that what they should have done was I think they should have saved Mario Galaxy for like the third movie and made the second movie Mario World instead. Because again, it doesn't feel like Mario Galaxy. If you just had this movie be like, okay, Bowser's evil again, and Yoshi's there, like, that would have been good for Mario World, as an adaptation of Mario World. But because they decided to put so much fucking bullshit in this movie, Rosalina, Mario Bros. 2 characters, Star Fox, fucking Rob, all this shit, it's like, it doesn't work as a Mario Galaxy movie. So this really should have been Mario World. Those are my thoughts. Let me know what you thought. You know, I'm really curious. I feel like this movie is going to have a lot of different reactions from different perspectives. Hope you guys enjoy this video, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good night.